any idea about this? Can you guide?
Oh, scaling up the operation.
Yes.
Okay, that would require a review to find out if the equipment is able to then handle the increased capacity. So perhaps I'm assuming you have an operation that's maybe built to treat maybe 20,000 tons of ore a month. And now you want to then go to 50,000 tons a month. You would then have to do a review of the existing process equipment and figure out your limits. Where is your higher limit of your operation? If it is lower than what you would desire, then you would have to do a feasibility study, go into then designing of the equipment, making sure that it is then basically you size up your equipment. You design a bigger mill, or perhaps include an additional processing train to then accommodate the extra material. But even so, that still requires then a study to be done, especially if you're going to be moving into a different area where the mineralogy is unknown, possibly has some more complex materials that can then affect the efficiency of your operation. Not too sure if that answered you. I hope it did.
Okay, thank you. Another question here is coming from Anthony. Anthony said, he said, thank you for the presentation. Can we have more information about the key considerations when selecting a processing plant location? Key consideration in selecting a processing plant location, and how do this impact the overall efficiency and cost effectiveness of gold beneficiation?
Okay, so going back to part one, there was the geographical factor that you need to think about. So when you are doing your techno-economic assessment, that's now when you are weighing or doing an option analysis to see that, okay, if I have a plant that has flotation, is it going to be economically feasible? You then consider things like your geographical factors, because this will then affect your cost. So things that can impact that would be your climate. If you are in whether the amount of rainfall, for example, can affect your processing operations in terms of the movement of your material through the plant. So you might not achieve your capacity. You have to think about even the sunny weather, because this might affect the efficiency of some of the processes within your circuit that need to be temperature controlled. You need to think about the availability of water. So for example, if you've got a circuit that uses a lot of water, like a lot of the gold operations are hydrometallurgical processes, so you need water in a circuit like that. So you need to think about those types of factors when you are selecting where to place your plant, and make sure that you avail those types of materials and equipment for your plant to run optimally so that it doesn't break the bank, basically. I hope that answered you. Please do.
Okay.
So.
Thank you for that. Another one is coming from Nyore. He said a highly informative presentation, but can you please explain the potential risk associated with different extraction methods, and how are these risks managed to ensure safe and responsible mining practices? Different
extraction methods. Are we talking about maybe incorporating?
I think, yeah, a different extraction method, but in summary, this will be what are the risks, potential risks that are associated with extraction methods that you've explained, and how can this actually be managed?
Trying to think of a risk.
He didn't say, it's a big, he didn't say he's not particular with any method. It would have been easier. It's not particular with any method. It would have been easier because there are a lot of methods. So, and all these methods are, so it's like very wide kind of question, but you might just want to pick up risk. Yeah, there are major risks. I know there are major risks that are actually associated with extraction of gold. And how can we mitigate this risk, to ensure that we are mining professionally or responsibly?
I think when it comes to selecting your processing route, doing a risk assessment is quite critical. For example, if you have a processing plant that just does mineral processing where, for example, you just crush, screen, maybe run it through a spiral and then discard it, the risks are considerably lower than if you have involved chemicals within your process. Because if you have chemicals in your process, those are toxic and can have an influence on the environment and to the society that is living in your neighboring communities. So most operations have got crushers and mills, and those are quite noisy. So that also has a noise risk that is then associated to the employees working in the plant, to the surrounding community, to make sure that you don't noise pollute. So a lot of risks. There's noise, the toxicity of your chemicals, dust, the emissions that can be released during your thermal processes, your roasting, your smelting processes.